Good. It's Jabray, and today we're talking about the Jezebel role model. Now, I watched the video, I listened to the song, and I was like, okay, it's catchy. I'll give them that. But my issue with it is the simple fact that they're talking about empowerment. And as a person that takes, my self love and the practice of that very seriously, as well as the betterment and empowerment of other people and lifting them up to the potential and gifts that they should be at a consistent basis, because I feel like God has created us that way. It's interesting because I see how they push these agendas and push these people into positions of power to quote unquote lead certain cultures. And I think my biggest issue is it's not really empowerment. Now, I'm all for it. I'm all for women having a healthy body image and loving themselves and, you know, not being haters of each other and being advocates for loving themselves and their own bodies. I'm all for that. But what I'm not for is the constant projection of just overly sexualization. It's a trip. I think the current climate that we're in when it comes to just culture wise is really weird. Like I can barely go on Instagram now without, you know, one of my past friends from high school talking about follow my OnlyFans and that being a thing that is cool, and like that's the instead of getting a job, instead of finding a way to create a business, is like, no, I'm just gonna post pictures of myself on the internet and make people pay for it. Like, now I kind of digress, but I think it all this ties into just the industry and how the adult industry in particular is skewing our perspective. And I think it's not only draining our men of their vitality and constantly being distracted and messing up their brains and their connections with women in the first place, to where they're more lonely and depressed after watching these videos. But I think even with women, young women these days, it's like I think that's it. That's what it is to be loved or be popular or be popular or whatever. It's like I don't agree with that. And I looked at the fundraiser that she had about $1 million to powerful women, and I'm like, okay, like there's plenty of other ways you could have got the job done in a sense. Like, what is deemed powerful, especially coming from two women that are talking about WAP. You know what I'm saying? Like, like I said before, I'm all for it. I mean, hip hop has been known to be pretty explicit and vulgar, but I think there's a backwards mentality when it comes to just empowerment of women. Because on one hand, it's just like, all right, like, don't objectify these people, but on the other hand, it's just like they're playing into that role of objectifying themselves or empowering themselves. What do you want to call it? And that's not to say that it's okay, because I freaking hate human trafficking. I hate the industry of just prostitution in general. I think all of it is destroying a lot of people's lives and a lot of family units that I think need to be cohesively together. Um, so yeah, it was just on my heart to just talk about it, kind of speak my mind about just be careful. I think at the end of the day, just be careful to young men and young women of who you really look up towards, because as we've seen more than ever, a lot of these celebrities and people in Hollywood and higher ups that we looked up towards as these like role models or idols probably they are crazy amounts of human, and that's okay. But I think just the misconception of them being perfect or them having it all together or somehow figured out just because they have millions upon millions of dollars means they are immune to just the human tendencies is a fallacy. And so, yeah, I think that's something that we need to shift and change and lift up more people like the Lauryn Hills and the Jill Scotts of the world, or the Afeni Shakurs of the world, versus just being a skewed, one-sided, overly sexualized model of what it is to be a woman and what it is to be a man nowadays. I mean, on both sides of the spectrum, it's very exaggerated. I'll say that it's very exaggerated. Like if you look at, for instance, like Hulk as being a caricature of what it is to be a man, and being overly tough and not showing emotion, and then you see how many of these artists nowadays are overdosing and dying. And it's just like, as an artist myself and someone that's experienced suicidal thoughts to a deep degree since I was a child, I can empathize and I can understand that place of hurt and feeling unaccepted by the world. And so my biggest thing for this is just take the time to just evaluate what it is to love yourself. Because I think if you're allowing the world to skew your perspectives and that being the model to follow, it's not sustainable. And who's to say these people are actually happy behind the scenes? They just project to be, just because when the camera's on and photoshopped and all this other stuff. And so, yeah, much love to you guys. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Till next time,